Welcome to our channel. Today, we're not talking about historic buildings or grand museums, but about a crisis spreading right within the heart of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and the American dream. According to the 2024 Pit Count survey, the number of people experiencing homelessness here has risen by 7% compared to last year, with over 4,000 lives fighting each day just to find a place to sleep at night. They are not faceless statistics. They are Denise, a hairstylist who lost her shop during the pandemic and now struggles to raise her child in an old van, and Raymond, a veteran returning home with PTSD, who now has only a sleeping bag for a home. Just a few blocks from the luxury apartments of Rittenhouse Square lie the tent encampments along Kensington Avenue in Allegheny, where the chill is palpable, syringes litter the ground, and stove smoke coils around the sidewalks. This brutality is not fate's doing, but the consequence of failed policies, skyrocketing housing costs, and social equity forgotten. In this video, we will uncover many perspectives, from statistical data to real-life stories and the efforts of organizations like Project Home and Broad Street Ministry, who fight adversity day after day. Stay with us, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you don't miss a moment of our journey into ghosts in real life, so we can find solutions to this crisis together. Chapter 1. Philadelphia, the truth about a forgotten hub. Did you know that Kensington is not just an ordinary neighborhood, but the largest addiction hotspot in America? Imagine stepping onto Kensington Avenue at dusk. No towering skyscrapers, but a chaotic scene of hunched figures, syringes glinting under dim streetlights, and the acrid smell of solvents mixed with coal smoke. Along Lehigh Avenue and Frankfurt Avenue, stretch after stretch, you will count nearly 4,000 lives without shelter, battling nightly with bone-chilling cold and the wind rushing through thin nylon sheets. That figure is not an insensitive warning, but an urgent wake-up call from reality itself. According to the 2024 Pit Count survey, Philadelphia saw a 7% increase in homelessness compared to the previous year. More than half of them have no stable refuge, staying awake under a starry sky, where city streets become their beds and pieces of cardboard their makeshift blankets. That 7% is more than a statistic. Every percentage point represents a single mother, a veteran without a home, a student left unemployed by the pandemic, all fighting not to disappear amidst the urban splendor. Once, Philadelphia was famed as the birthplace of the American dream, where ideas took flight, where the Liberty Bell rang out the vow of freedom and equality. But now, that same land reflects the dark side of the dream. Historic glory overshadowed by makeshift slums and the size of those left behind. And in every sad pair of eyes in Kensington, we hear an invitation. Perhaps the time has come to awaken, not only to admire a glorious past, but to have the courage to face a challenging present. Chapter 2. Two Parallel Worlds, the story of class division. Just step across Market Street into Old City, and you enter a historic realm. Stately red brick buildings, tourists bustling with cameras to photograph Independence Hall, and the Liberty Bell's chime floating through the air. The atmosphere carries the scent of drip coffee, the laughter from brunch spots, and cocktails shimmering golden atop polished wooden tables. Yet, just a block away, Kensington dons a starkly different, gloomy attire. Syringes lie scattered like fallen leaves on cracked sidewalks, the pungent solvent smell stifling the air. Right outside upscale restaurants, where a meal averages $60 a plate, a few homeless people huddle under thin blankets, their eyes following diners inside, hoping for a glance, a scrap of bread, even a bit of leftover grease or a fallen crumb. And the anguished question echoes: how can the world's third richest country, with a soaring GDP and generous welfare budgets, allow these scenes to repeat every day? This is not an individual misfortune, but a damning indictment of a system that has failed to protect its most vulnerable citizens. When opportunity is distributed unfairly, when housing policy, mental health care, and social safety nets fail to shield people, then every dream of a bright America becomes a fragile paper in the rain. And in every torn tent, every weary eye, rings a demand for justice, a demand for responsibility, not only from the government, but from all of us, enjoying the light while ignoring the darkness right beside us. Chapter 3. Policies and actions. Efforts are not enough. You will hear about Shelter Plus Care, Horizon House, and Sunday Breakfast Mission, familiar names in Philadelphia's battle against homelessness. They open their doors as night falls, welcoming hundreds of exhausted people seeking a safe place to sleep. But imagine standing in line in bitter cold, every pair of feet trembling as they wait their turn, simply because the number of available beds is always limited. Many arrive too late and must turn back to the thin nylon tarp on the sidewalk where they stay awake all night. In 2023, a permanent housing project near Kensington was launched amid hopeful promises: stable homes, low rents, and community reintegration support. Yet its scale was so small that it could shelter only a few dozen families, while the need ran into the thousands. Each newly completed home became a painful reminder of the countless tents left behind, braving rain, sun, and stigma day and night. The cause isn't just the number of empty beds. Rents in Philadelphia have risen 3 times faster than the average worker's income. That means one misstep job loss or illness can push anyone into homelessness in an instant. Add to that a history of urban planning that pushed communities of color out of the city center, and today 61% of Philly's homeless population is non-white, a stark testament to the discrimination that endures. And when we look at the national picture, we cannot remain indifferent. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development (HUD) reported that in 2024, homelessness reached its highest level since the 2008 financial crisis. From New York to Los Angeles, from Chicago to Miami, the makeshift tarps and the stories of human exhaustion ring out like a warning bell for a system that has failed. Chapter 4: Urban History and the Legacy of Bad Decisions. Let's go back to the late 19th century, when Kensington was still Philadelphia's industrial heart. Bustling garment factories echoing with sewing machines, the smell of leather permeating the streets, workers gathering after their shifts, proud of earning their meager bread with sweat and skill. The steady stream of shoemakers and seamstresses helped forge the cradle of America's working class. Then turmoil arrived after the 1950s. Factories gradually moved away, workshops were bulldozed to make way for promised new development. But those promises brought no jobs, only piles of rubble and the fear of mass unemployment spreading through the neighborhood. Thousands of skilled workers, the hands that once kept the city running, suddenly found themselves jobless, trapped among the broken bricks of the industrial dream. By the 1980s, belt-tightening policies had slashed mental health budgets drastically. Those carrying invisible wounds, depression, anxiety disorders, PTSD suddenly had nowhere to turn. Meanwhile, investment in prisons increased, resulting in countless homeless people being funneled into the criminal justice system instead of receiving care. When society chose to build more bars instead of shelter roofs, homelessness became a vicious cycle between jail cells and tent encampments, and poverty itself became criminalized. People exhausted from a day of wandering were arrested simply for sleeping in public, for sharing donated food, or even just for walking without a fixed address. The sound of handcuffs carried a painful reminder that, in the eyes of the law, the most basic human needs, a place to sleep at night, an evening meal, can be treated as crimes. Every decision leaves a legacy. In today's Kensington, the old factories are gone, replaced by the imprints of neglectful policies and punitive attitudes. As urban history and the legacy of bad decisions continue to shape reality, the poorest residents remain the ones who bear the long-lasting consequences. Chapter 5: Real Faces' Lives Waiting to be Heard. Denise was once the pride of a small salon right in the heart of Kensington. Her skilled hands would curl each lock of hair to perfection. The scent of herbal shampoo mingled with the soft snip of scissors every morning. Then the pandemic came, the shop closed its doors, the lights went out, and the empty styling chair became a memory of a stable life. Now, Denise and her young daughter squeeze into an old van parked behind a crumbling wall. The cramped space holds only a tiny camping stove that flickers weakly to cook instant noodles. The smell of burnt bread sizzles together with exhaust fumes from the tailpipe. Each evening, after their makeshift meal, Denise sits by the van window, streetlight filtering through the glass crack, holding her daughter's notebook open to each letter. Her voice is soft but resolute. "You must study hard, and I will provide you with a different future." Raymond once wore a military uniform, rifle on his shoulder, listening to the desert wind echoing in his tense heartbeat. He guarded freedom for others, but when he returned to Philadelphia, that same freedom turned into an invisible burden. The blazing sun on the steps of Memorial Hall could not drive away his nightmares. The sound of bombs and gunfire still echoed each night, his comrade screams replaying in his mind. Without proper mental health support, Raymond drifts between the fences of shelter plus care. His sleeping bag is his only home, and each morning is a battle, fighting memories, uncontrollable tremors in his legs, and crushing loneliness. "I once stood guard for freedom," he chokes out. "Now I stand guard over my sleeping bag." His eyes are heavy with sorrow but still burn with a fierce will to live, as if to tell the world, "I deserve help, I deserve recognition, just like any other citizen." In Denise and Raymond, we hear the voices of thousands of invisible people, their hearts still hungry to be heard, to be understood, and to be given a chance. Their stories are not merely personal tragedies, but a clarion call to awaken the conscience of each one of us. Chapter 6. Positive Resistance, a community that does not abandon each other. At dawn, when mist still clings to the air, Project Home's trucks roll into the Kensington tent camps one after another. They bring not only wooden beams and boards to construct low-cost shelters, but also a longing to restore hope. Carpenters running their hands over every plank, the smell of wood glue blending with the aroma of coffee served in cold paper cups. Under the skeletal trees, volunteers teach plumbing and electrical skills, computer literacy, and even host art classes, each brushstroke filled with hope, opening a small door to the future. Mobile medical units screech to a halt and erect canvas tents. The scent of antiseptic and peppermint essential oil drifts through the air, bringing a healing warmth to souls long ignored. Just steps away, Broad Street Ministry has already lined up steaming bowls of soup, crusty bread, and fragrant tea. Whispers of compassion rise amid the aroma of fresh baking and the heat of field kitchens, as volunteer lawyers and mental health professionals attentively listen to each story and hidden pain. That space, amid the city's clamor, becomes a harbor of empathy and justice, where every legal counsel or comforting hug can mean the difference between despair and survival. On the empty walls beside an alley, muralists with paintbrushes create vibrant advocacy art. Images of hands joined in solidarity, eyes watching one another as a reminder that no one must be left behind. Inside the makeshift classroom, the hum of a GED lesson blends with sewing machines and a free vocational training class. Each lesson, each stitch, testifies to the yearning to rise. Here, the community shares more than food and shelter. Together, they weave the fragments of hope, affirming that no one is left behind after life's storm. Chapter 7. Mental health and addiction, the most misunderstood aspect. In the hidden corners of makeshift tents, nearly one-third of Philadelphia's homeless residents are battling overwhelming waves of severe mental illness, depression, psychosis, bipolar disorder. They suffer not only physically but also fight invisible storms in their minds, yet most lack a single health insurance policy to hold on to, leaving them completely abandoned. Long, sleepless nights ring with the echoes of their delusions, and the cold glare of streetlights seems only to deepen the cracks in their souls. Every bodily twitch is a silent plea for help. But when the insurance system, the very institution meant to share their burden, closes its doors, they are left to swim alone in a stormy sea of mental anguish. When they try to access treatment, they face hundreds of paperwork procedures, appointment slots months away, and advance costs so high they extinguish even the strongest will to survive. The wall of bureaucracy, the inaccessibility of the healthcare system, and their lack of financial resources leave them with no escape. Stigma hides in the curious glances of passersby, in the pitying eyes of nurses, and in the dismissive words of specialists. The homeless are not only abandoned by society, but they are also judged harshly by the very healthcare providers entrusted to help them. When clinic doors shut, they return to their tents, enduring ever-rising psychological pain without medication or understanding, only darkness and loneliness encroaching on every thought. And then, at the bottom of despair, addiction appears as a temporary remedy: fentanyl, crack, heroin. White powders and pills that seem to promise relief, but in truth drag them deeper into the abyss. They do not choose addiction. They are driven to it by the absence of any other escape. When no one shares their physical and mental pain, when no one cares, the taste of drugs becomes the only thing to soothe their ears, calm their tremors, and drown out the echoes of traumatic memories. Addiction is not the cause of their tragedy, but the bitter result of a society that still does not know how to listen to its most vulnerable voices. They are cornered with no way out, and drugs become the only lifeline in their hopeless lives. Chapter 8. The Cost of Living, the Silent Killer. Amid Philadelphia's fast pace, a figure of $2,600 may seem enough to get by, but when the living wage benchmark has soared to $2,400 in monthly rent alone, only $200 remains for electricity, water, food, and medicine. Imagine the slight tremor as you open your bill. You must choose between a nutritious meal or paying to keep warm on a winter night. Those final dollars become an invisible barrier that pushes low-income families into a dead end. Just one misstep, a day without work, an unexpected illness, a minor accident, can turn every plan to smoke and vanish. A healthy worker yesterday can become homeless tomorrow, with no financial cushion to fall back on. Tears stream down faces forced to leave a cramped rental room, hoping instead to find a flimsy tarp that lets the wind cut through all night. Meanwhile, the city's development map seems to forget the rest of the community. 80% of new housing projects target the middle and upper classes, with penthouse apartments, luxurious amenities, and sky-high prices. While the wealthy enrich themselves under sunlit rooftop terraces, the poor can only glance through windows, their dream of a lasting home remaining a distant illusion. When the city invests opportunity so unevenly, the cost of living becomes the silent killer, gradually pushing the most vulnerable lives into a darkness with no way out. Chapter 9. Change begins with awareness. Imagine a city where everyone is given a home before ever having to wander the streets. That is the spirit of housing first. This model establishes stable housing as the foundation, and only then addresses other needs such as mental health treatment, job training, or community reintegration. Unlike previous approaches that required people experiencing homelessness to participate in therapy programs, counseling, or find work before receiving housing support, Housing First believes that only when someone has a stable home can they begin to heal and rebuild their life. And the results are astonishing. In places that adopt Housing First, recidivism into homelessness drops by more than 80%. This is not magic, but proof of the power of belief. When people have somewhere to call home, they can feel safe and secure, and only then tackle other challenges in their lives. However, the big issue isn't only about innovative programs like Housing First, but also about the community's perception of people experiencing homelessness. As long as society assumes that homelessness is their fault due to laziness, addiction, or personal mistakes, any initiative is like salt thrown into the sea. Homelessness becomes a label society sticks on the unlucky, rather than seeing it as the outcome of deeper problems. That's why changing this perception is crucial. Homelessness is not a choice, but the result of economic storms, health crises, and social policies too weak to protect people. When we put aside prejudice and start listening to their stories, even in the dark corners of Kensington, we realize that anyone could fall into this situation without community support and compassion. Beneath the nylon tarps and the glare of flashlights, people still carry fragments of memory, their old homes, warm family meals, children's laughter. People experiencing homelessness are not empty silhouettes on the street. They are human beings with stories, pasts, and unfulfilled dreams. They are Denise and Raymond, but they are also you, me, and anyone who might find themselves here without a helping hand. When we begin to see them not as a problem to be erased, but as people who deserve understanding and opportunity, we truly start a journey of change, from awareness to action. That is when we understand that no one should be left behind. Programs like Housing First can transform the lives of people experiencing homelessness, but real change must begin within us, from shifting our perceptions, from listening, and from taking action to create a community where no one is left behind. Housing First is no longer theory. It has become a fresh breeze sweeping through Kensington. Crime rates have fallen noticeably where alleys no longer host people fighting for a place to sleep. Streets are brighter. Streetlights cast not only light but hope into souls. Both mental health and physical crisis hospital admissions have declined significantly, and faces once vacant now break into smiles. Meet Elijah, a young man once buried under fentanyl addiction. In those days, he drifted from one relief organization to another shelter, his eyes clouded by the desire to forget his pain. Today, Elijah stands in front of a class, carefully explaining each step of health screening and sharing recovery insights to guide others in similar situations. The laughter of newly recovering classmates rings out like a hopeful melody. and Elijah stands proud, a victor on the very ground that once defeated him. And there is Tanya, who lost all her savings in a brutal financial scam. From the darkness of despair, she rose, completing every financial literacy course offered by Project Home, then earning a scholarship for further training. Today, Tanya stands before a small podium, a whiteboard behind her filled with budgeting formulas and saving plans. Her voice is warm and persuasive. Money is not the enemy, but a tool if you learn to master it. From closed doors to confident footsteps, from cold, dark nights to warm, bright dawns. This is proof. When we give opportunity, the community not only saves a life, but also awakens the spirit within each person. And it doesn't stop at shelter and meals. The community is opening a second door: employment and life skills. Chrysalis East and Workforce Solutions, two renowned Philadelphia nonprofits, have transformed makeshift rooms into bustling classrooms. The click of keyboards, lively group discussions, and the encouragement of volunteers. Here, participants learn not only how to craft resumes, ace interviews, and present themselves, but also hone soft skills: communication, teamwork, and time management. Each class is a transformative journey where confidence is built brick by brick on a foundation of knowledge. Outside the classroom, local businesses are beginning to extend a helping hand. The bakery offers opportunities to work the counter, the cafe invites participants to try their hand as baristas, and the woodworking shop provides formal auxiliary positions. These are more than just part-time jobs, they are challenges to reclaim one's dignity. The image of a trainee carefully pulling a frothy white milk cappuccino, eyes brimming with hope, or the deft hands of someone newly learning to file paperwork neatly in an office, all reflect the power of opportunity. Honest work is the bridge connecting a painful past to a brighter future. And in those moments, from the scent of morning coffee to the chime of the time clock, hope is etched ever deeper. When the community trusts and businesses collaborate, every individual who once stumbled can rise again, reshape their life, and become living proof of the importance of work, not merely as income, but as dignity and self-belief. Philadelphia, with its storied history and the glow of the Declaration of Independence, cannot turn its back on the humanitarian crisis unfolding at its feet. Every corner of the city, from the marble-paved streets of Old City to the makeshift tents along Kensington, mirrors both the fullness of the American dream and its forgotten shadows. Amid the grand facades and bright neon lights, there are hearts still yearning for the warmth of a home. Amidst the laughter of tourists and the bustle of upscale cafes, there are eyes searching for stray crumbs. Philadelphia is not just a postcard of history, it is a reminder that we cannot ignore the lives crying out for help. No one chooses to live under a bridge, but society can choose how to respond. Let this phrase not only echo in our ears, but stir our conscience. When each of us, government, nonprofits, businesses, and the broader community, joins hands and turns aid into companionship, the dream of a Philadelphia that leaves no one behind will become reality. After all, a compassionate society builds not just solid homes, but hearts warm enough to welcome every human life.